Welcome back to the Celtic Soul podcast, folks. It's been a busy week. We've been doing a lot of recording this week. Joining me for my weekly chat uh, about all things Celtic, once again, is the North Cove's finest, Michael Pringle. He was a fan last week when we spoke. And I wonder if he's as happy this week because he was so happy that the Green Brigade were coming back into the section where he stands. How are you, Michael? You're very welcome back to the podcast for what's known now between us as our weekly therapy session. How
Aye,
have you been since we last spoke?
I've been good. I was at the Prodigy concert last night in Glasgow, so I'm a bit deaf, or a bit deafer than I normally am this morning. So you'll need to bear with me if I keep saying what. But aye, that was the decibel levels were really high last night, and the DJ legend Carol Cox warmed the crowd up for a couple of hours before. I was delighted at the weekend that the section was back to where it should be. And I'm so glad it was because the product on the park was so poor that I thought at one point, I thought if this section wasn't full today, I think there's a real possibility we would have dropped points, given the anxiety that creeps onto the park for the other sections of the stadium. No, so I was just glad that we managed to see it through and keep a clean sheet. But on other days we would have dropped something for that. And it just goes to show it's not going to be a given this weekend either, no, because St Mirren were a tough nut to crack, although they didn't offer that much going forward. But aye, I think it will still be a difficult one this weekend, especially on a neutral venue and one that they've already seen us off on already this season, unfortunately. So aye, but I'm good.
Season from hell. Rewind a little. Tell me more about the Prodigy last night
Oh,
before we get into the
uh,
football. How was it?
it was energetic for an old guy like me, man. It was the best workout I've had in probably a couple of years now. So the place was it was sold out, no, the Hydro. So I don't know, was it 12,000 or something? But the downstairs was absolutely bouncing from back to front. No, it was high. They've still got it. You know what I mean? And I love that sort of energy because I'm a lover of the punk rock scene. No, I'm a survivor of the punk rock scene and that progressed into dance music. So it sort of blends both in some respects. You know what I mean? So it gives you that energy of punk rock and the rhythmic beats of dance together. But aye, it was phenomenal, and the crowd was there was loads of young people there that probably haven't seen them before, and loads of older guys like myself. There was an old guy came. I've seen an old guy. There was a bunch of young lads next to me who had the bags across the top half. So they've got the wee man bags and the tops off and the sunglasses on and they're all. And then this older guy comes strolling down, whips his top off and starts swinging it around his head and well, beside them. And I was like, God, he's making me look young, man. But it was brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed it. No? Great
And
night.
Carl Cox support act. Good.
Carol Cox was brilliant. Aye, and it was a vinyl set on, no, which is unusual. So it was all stuff. It was probably as close as you'll get to an early to mid '90s set for Carol Cox. No, he's back in Scotland in a couple of weeks. He's doing the Air Pavilion Festival, which is a 2-day sort of outdoor tented festival down at Air. So he'll be back there. So I'll probably take myself back down for that on a Sunday. Aye, it's always good to see him. I think I've been watching him for 30 odd years as well, same as a Prodigy. Prodigy, I don't think I've missed him for I've performed in Scotland since the early '90s. No, I seen him prior to him playing the second tee in the park at Hamilton, and I think I've just seen them every time since. They just I went to see them one time. There was about 400 people at a rave in the Barrowland. I mean, I'd seen them before that, but this rave, they came on and they played. It was just prior to the release of music for the Jilted Generation, where they brought in guitars and stuff like that. Prior to that, they'd just been a sort of guy with a synth and two dancers. So they brought the guitars and I watched them that night and I thought, wow, they've got something with this, no? And the album came out a couple of weeks later, and they were back at the Barrowlands, sold it out, and so it went for there. Before you knew it, they were doing stadiums and stuff. So, aye, so I've I've seen them just about every time, and I remember saying to my wife, we went to see him at Tina Park, and she hadn't seen him before, and I says, right, put your hood up and stick your elbows out, because this is going to get mental, no? So it's good
For
advice.
safety.
Says keep your hair dry, get your elbows out, and that'll be us. You'll be fine.
And you know, when some people say romance is dead, when you can go on a date to the Prodigy, you know, there's something still alive. You know, what I like about the Hydro is so easy to get in, so easy to get out, and the training back in and out of the city. You know, I love places like that. I remember going to that Belhouston Park to see Paolo Nutini and Grace Jones.
Yeah.
And having to walk back into the city after that.
It's a bit of walk.
Past a few dodgy pubs that I wouldn't have called into, you know.
Aye, no along that side of the city.
There's a few gentlemen hanging outside that didn't like me, and I didn't.
There's a lot of Rangers pubs in that.
I didn't take much of a liking to them either. But anyway, Michael, Green Brigade, go on, give me the. I didn't get it. I was gigging Friday night, so I got brilliantly. I got a 12 flight, which meant I didn't have to be on the road till about 9 o'clock in the morning to hit the airport, which was great. Got to the airport, flight was on time. Bus into the city centre, train, walk to the stadium. So I only got in 10 minutes before kickoff, but I thought the atmosphere before the game was absolutely fantastic. I thought You'll Never Walk Alone was fantastic on a Saturday at 3 p.m. when football should be. I looked to my left. I couldn't see the boys' banner, but I could hear them. And then I looked across to what was an empty shell for such a long time. And I was thinking of you. And I know exactly where you stand. So I was going, right, he's almost in the thick of it. So not only are you raving at the Prodigy, reliving your punk rock memories, but you're back, the Green Brigade are back in your section.
Maybe one of my knees are done.
How was the build-up? How was the build-up before it?
Well, I never arrived till late on either, probably about the same time as yourself. So just to just go in and go up the stairs and through and just to see it full again was just brilliant. You know what I mean? I brought a tear to my eye almost. But then by half time, my knees were killing me. You know what I mean? So, but it was really good. No, it's just as it should be. You know what I mean? And it was great for them to be back. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, and I think the rest of the stadium got a real lift after that as well. No, so I'm slightly cynical about the motives behind getting them back at this stage, right enough. But
they're back. You know,
yeah,
they're back.
And as you can see, you know, they're not going to be quiet, and they're going to continue calling out as they see it. You know what I mean? So,
as it should be. You know, you shouldn't. You know, like. But I have to say that for 90 plus minutes, they sang, and we weren't watching a classic game of football on the pitch. In fact, it was worrying to hear Matt O'Neill's comments after it when he spoke about how tired they looked. How lacking in energy they were. But look, we got the win. Another positive is we kept a clean sheet, which we haven't done in a while.
Yeah.
But Michael, one thing I noticed when I looked across during the game to the Green Brigade was I didn't see a heavy police presence, which I normally see in that corner with cameras and so forth.
No, I think they're obviously playing it softly just now. I don't want to stir it up again, I suppose.
And plenty of stewards as well. There was plenty of stewards.
But I mean, if they keep their distance, it's fine. I mean, they've still got this absolute nonsense where you go for the toilet. If you leave the section to go to the toilet, if you go to the right towards the north stand, you can pass through there okay. But if you go to the other side, if you go into the concourse and go then the direction behind the goal, there's this stupid fence they've got with a wee gate on it. So you're having to go through that, and then you're having to file in single file to come back through and show your card. It's to stop the overcrowding. But it's just a dreadful sort of setup. Interestingly, I was talking to somebody that's been missing for the however many home games, 30 odd games in total. And he said to me, his 8-year-old son was amongst those banned. He says, he wasn't at the Falkirk game. He says, what do you tell a child? He says, 8-year-old, he says, the collective punishment thing for me is just an absolute nonsense. I mean, when you can have a situation where an 8-year-old boy who wasn't even at the Falkirk game and they could have easily checked that. We've seen if his card was used. I suppose, given that everything's digital these days, he's just, I mean, that's only one individual, but that's an 8. So that 8-year-old boy didn't never go to the games for months, for half a season almost. In fact, more than half a season, because of collective punishment. And it's something. Collective punishment is something, the strict liability things, something that Celtic rail against as a club, because they don't want held responsible for a couple of individuals. But here we are, they're quite happy to hold 250 to 300 people responsible for the alleged actions of a couple of individuals in breaching the peace. I mean, so I just thought I'd get that one in because it just came back to my mind there. I was speaking to him on Friday night, actually, so his son was absolutely buzzing to get back, almost as much as I was buzzing for them to get back, Tommy. So,
yeah, it's hard to tell an 8-year-old kid that he's banned.
Exactly, for what? And you'll not even be there. I mean, you've done nothing.
Yeah, so, he's banned for not going to the game.
Aye, but it's like I'm saying to you, somebody in your supporters club, something happens and they just say, right, I say your full bus is banned. Aye.
Yeah,
your full bus is banned. I mean, the Celtic board, the Celtic hierarchy, and the fans have always had a sort of love-hate relationship throughout the years. I remember there was a drive on to get. I actually seen something for the. It's a clipping for one of the Celtic views for back in the 90s about the songs that were getting sung on it, and these mouthings. The words were these mouthings from particularly from the section of the jungle have to be done away with, and you had that, and then you had who was the security guy again? Can't even remember his name. Big guy George something. He all the supporters clubs in asking them about how their name had came about. I mean, there is some.
I remember the Sean McElvenna club in Dundalk. Yeah, I remember they had to they became unofficially they became for Cheers Bar CSC, I think.
Well, we got hold and asked how the Garngad Milburn the name came about. It's a fucking street in the Garngad. Excuse my language, but it's a street in the Garngad.
George Douglas, was it?
George Douglas, that's the man.
Yeah.
Not a very likeable guy. I remember.
Well, our supporters club were all right because our supporters club was called after Hilly's sister Margaret, who passed away with cancer when we were forming the club. So that was
right.
That's yeah. Because a few people have said to me, that's the slogan, forever in our hearts. You know, a few people to say to me that, there's an area near Dublin Airport called St Margaret's, and they say, oh, are you from St Margaret's? And I go, no, and rather than getting into the story, I just say, no, we're based in Dundee, County Meath. So, just 10 miles outside Drogheda. And they go, but do you play golf? Because there's a golf course there as well. Do you play golf there? Because they're not listening, and I go, no, I don't play golf. I don't watch golf. And I wasn't cheering for Rory McIlroy. But so Paddy McManaman, Paddy's a massive golfer, right? That writes for the fans. Paddy loves his golf. And he writes an article weekly for a local newspaper. And he sent me the article last night. And it was on Rory McIlroy.
Right, okay.
I said, you must have sent that as a wind-up because I'm having a lot of interest in golf. And then he gives me all the stats of how many people watched and all that. I said, Paddy, you're never going to sell golf to me. I don't play golf. I don't watch it. I actually think the courses are lovely, and I would love to get access to walk the dog on them because he would love chasing the ball around them golf courses.
No, I've never been a golf fan. I have tried it a couple of times, but I don't mind that. I've been to the driving range a couple of times. I don't mind because you've not actually got to find the ball again. You know what I mean? So I remember the first time I played, I think I could back with about 6 balls more than I had when I started with because I kept finding them, but they weren't mine. You know what I mean? I was like, nah, this is a waste of a good walk, man. As somebody once said, I think I was wrongly attributed to Bill Shankly at one time, that statement. So,
yeah, look, according to Paddy, a lot of people watched it. He sent me the stats last night.
No doubt.
But we had a bit of banter about it. Paddy's a great guy. Fair fucking play to him. Just this issue with the fanzine. Another plug for the fanzine. Issue 142. The print edition is out. The 20 or 30 copies left, so order a copy if you can, CelticFanzine.com. That's me plug for this week. But Paddy wrote an article about he was too late to get a cheap flight to the Stuttgart home game.
Right.
So he went on the Nave Park bus, but Paddy lives in Galway. So he travelled from Galway, stayed in the hotel, got on the bus, done the game, come back, and then when he got off the bus in Dublin, day trip, which took him 2 days, he had to get the train back. And you know, Paddy, I'm not sure what age Paddy is, but he's definitely 70 or 70 plus. So fair play to him. But Paddy loves European football. He loves when we play a big team. You know, he loves when we play in the bigger competitions. He is that Europhile. Paddy will tell you himself, no one's going over to see Ross County or, you know, he loves the big games because he texted me and said he's going to the Hearts and the Rangers games. So Paddy's been going there since I think the late 60s, and obviously he missed a lot of the 70s because of his time spent at Her Majesty's pleasure in Long Kesh. But yeah, so Paddy, I'm glad you enjoyed the golf, and I'm glad you got home safely after that long trip on the Nave Park bus, or the chariot as they call it. Another thing, Michael, Conor McGregor done a quick interview on Celtic TV this week, and one thing I took from it, because it wasn't air chattering, but one thing I took from it was he spoke about Motherwell playing a different system under the new manager. So that might be good stead now that Celtic know a little more about them, because they were probably setting up maybe to play a mix of the new manager and a mix of their old style. So that was good. Now, it's as you were in the league, right? But we're one game less. This week, both Rangers and Hearts, I think, are travelling to training camps. Matt O'Neill was looking for a bounce game, I think, this week, which would suggest that some players, either to get players up to match fitness, or a couple are coming back from injury to have a look at them.
Aye.
I spoke to Tommy Johnson yesterday, and he was saying that Matt O'Neill would be in every Monday straight to the physios and the doctors and saying, right, who have I got this week? Who can train? Who can't? And his frustration will be the same as everyone else's. And he did cut a frustrated figure on the touchline on Saturday. So he's obviously feeling that, you know, he's doing the best with the players he have. Now, to Tommy Johnson, in fairness to him, he was very confident. He said, no. He said, Martin, if anyone can get a twist out of the players till the end of the season, he said, it's Martin O'Neill. He said, you know, and I suppose, like, his record, like, and I know it's been a lot of late wins and holding out and that, but like, if Wilfred Nancy, when you think if we hadn't had Wilfred Nancy, you know,
you got 6 points out of 12.
Where would we be? You know, it's, but it's all looking back. Michael, sorry, Michael. Another talking point was Celtic announced yesterday that Tom Allison will retire after almost 25 years. As a director, a non-executive director of Celtic. Now, I know from speaking to people who sit on boards that they tell me that, you know, the average would be about between 6 and 9 years for a non-executive on a board. But someone said to me yesterday that depending on the football club, it could be only 3 years that a non-executive would sit, depending on the stability of the club. Now, Celtic has been very stable over those 25 years. There was loads of compliments from Dermot Desmond and Celtic's interim chairman, Brian Quinn, a bit of backslapping about how good of a businessman he was and what he brought to the table when I read the statement from Celtic. But it got me thinking. So in them 25 years since 2001, when he was appointed by Brian Quinn, Celtic have dominated Scottish football.
Yeah.
We've also saw Rangers go bust, go out of business. We've also saw the development of Lennoxtown. We've saw the development of Barrowfield. You commented that you don't have hot water on the podcast last week in your section of the ground.
Yeah.
So, and I'm questioning, are we in a... Are
badly
we in
named
a
her.
better place now? He leaves the club in turmoil on and off the pitch. You know, like can't the finger cannot be only pointed to him; it has to be pointed to others. But in 2001, when Tom Allison joined the club, Celtic was signing players of the calibre of Chris Sutton and later then John Hartson. Now we haven't got a striker at the club capable of staying fit or scoring a goal. Celtic were also competing in the latest in the Champions League,
Yeah.
and we went on that run in the UEFA Cup in 2003. So the question I have for you, Michael, is: are Celtic in a better place overall, or were we in a better place in 2001? Considering there's been no work done inside the stadium. I know we have the Paradise Way. There's been no work inside the stadium when Fergus handed it over to Dermot, and the team is not a shadow of the team we had in 2001.
Difficult question. I mean, in many respects, we're in a better place financially, and as I said, this aesthetically, looking when you approach a stadium, it looks fantastic. So once you get inside, it's maybe a bit worse for wear. Main stand could be doing with being redeveloped. Everything's really small and cramped in there. It's definitely for a different age. It's a difficult one. I think money needs to be spent. I think I really think we should redevelop the main stand to bring it in line with the rest of the stadium. But where do you put the 8,000 or so season ticket holders that are there every week? I was talking to somebody about this the other day as well. We've probably got an aging demographic with the supporter base as well. I mean, you've got the young guys, or not so young guys that are involved in the ultras scene, and then everybody keeps their season ticket because the vast majority, I think probably 95% of the season ticket holders renew year on year. And there's people waiting that don't really get a shot to go to the games unless it's like a cup game and stuff like that. So we have got a sort of a fan base that's getting older, and there's probably not enough youth coming in. The way when I was a child, you went to the games, you got a lift over. Now that would be considered breaking into the stadium. You get lifting it by some of the good two shoe fans, I mean. But that was how you were introduced to football as a child. No, you were taken along, get the lift over, and that was it. You were in for free, and your love grew for that. But now it's sort of coming for a lot of young people. It's for watching on TV. If they're lucky enough, the Kano Foundation are great because they're, as they always say, they give the kids the leftover now, the modern day leftover. But it's a difficult one. Are we in a better position than we were then? I'm not so sure. Financially, we're looking a better place, but we're not in a position to spend bigger. I noticed Scott Brown made comments this week about Celtic supporters expect us to spend 20 million a player. No, we don't. We don't. We expect us to be able to compete in a market where we can go out and buy a 10 or 11 million pound player, as we did with Arne Engels and Ida. I think what we're fed up with is them taking a punt on players and overspending like 5 million. I don't want to single out individuals, and I won't on this occasion, but we seem to be constantly chasing wingers. I think we've been linked again today with Elijah Just at Motherwell and one of the Hibs players. So at least we've seen what the guys can do. I mean, we've brought in a few players. We've brought in countless wingers actually in the last few seasons, and none of them seem to be up to the mark. But it's almost as if we'll take a punt on them and hope the one hits the mark out of 5. And I just don't think it's a good way to go about it. Engels for me was a big plus coming back on Saturday. Was it Saturday, Sunday? That was a big plus for me. I think that could be a real decisive factor if we were to get over the line in the league. Engels coming back, his quality not just for dead balls, but he's a hard working player, and I think a lot of that goes over people's heads. You know what I mean? The qualities he's got. I mean, Nottingham Forest didn't come in and bid for him for nothing. I think he'll go on to do great things. If not with us, then with somebody else. But that was a boost for me. But getting back to your question, are we in a better place than we were then? It's hard to say because there's so much negativity as well about what's going on this season. I mean, in 2001, if you mean when Martin O'Neill came in, I mean we were able to spend big money on international players for England. We just can't do that now. But I think that there needs to be somewhere between that and what we're actually doing. I mean, the transfer policy's been absolutely abysmal this last wee while. And I think there was maybe an issue with the board trusting Rodgers because they didn't see that we were getting enough for Ida and Engels. We forked out 20 million, but 20 million for a club like us is shouldn't really be that big an issue. You know what I mean? To spend that on two players. I'm not saying to spend that on every player, to go out and spend 100 million every season, but it shouldn't be beyond us to buy two £10 million players that are quality players that will make a difference. Ida, it didn't really happen. I wasn't convinced that Ida was the right man to go after and to spend that sort of money, but we sort of left ourselves in a position where Norwich sort of held the upper hand in that, and we sort of, I think we paid over the odds for Ida, but we were blinded a bit by the goal in the cup final. I think. I mean, he did come in and he done okay. He scored some crucial goals, but for me, I thought we could probably get better for that money. We could probably get better for 6 million. I think, to be honest, even though I appreciate what Adam Ida done for us, but I just don't think he was an all-round striker that we were sort of looking for. And I think the cup final, it was a bit like when Neil Lennon got a job in the showers. I mean, it was just you're on the high of that sort of victory and success, and then you go, aye, that's it, get him in. But I didn't think Ida was the right buy for us. I didn't think he was the right fit.
Ida is better than anything that's down now. His goal scoring record is. I think we did pay over the odds for him. He's not getting on too well in the move. But don't forget, they got the goals, the crucial goals. And they sold him on, so he didn't cost the club 9 million.
No,
when you think they probably got 7 in for him, so he was a £2 million player, and we got the value out of that 2 million.
Yeah, definitely.
So you just on Engels, it was interesting the other day that Matt O'Neill changed the whole midfield during the game, all the substitutions.
Aye.
So, between maybe fitness to Oxlade Chamberlain, Callum McGregor coming off. It's unusual to see the whole of the midfield being whipped off,
It is. It's unusual to see McGregor coming off unless he's injured, for example. But maybe I just felt it did look stale in the second half. There was a lack of energy. I thought Engels, I mean, Hatate could pick a lock at times, you know what I mean? So it's always great to have him on the bench, and if he comes on and performs, then he's really, really difficult to deal with and defend against. Engels for me gives you that bit of grip in the middle. I mean, the ref was just, he won a ball on the edge of the opposition box, and the ref blew for a foul and was there, and I was like, here we go again. I mean, but I think he gives you that wee bit of, he's got that mentality, I think, that could make a difference. I think we're too soft in the middle at times. You know what I mean? I really do think we're too soft. We're missing somebody in there that can put their foot in and win tackles and stuff. And I think he can, and I think that goes it goes unnoticed quite a lot of the times with Engels' sort of defensive attributes. You know what I mean? So I really like him. I think he's a quality player. No,
it'll be interesting to see now what midfield lines up in Hampden.
Aye, it will be.
If Engels, if it's true that this bounce game is going ahead and Engels gets some time in that, Because I heard Matt O'Neill in an interview saying like that he was told he'd get 20 minutes out of a player because, you know, of the whatever way the sports science and the physios and so forth, which was interesting because, you know, O'Neill keeps the game. If you talk to any players that played under him, they say he keeps the game really simple.
Yeah.
You know, John Hartson was saying recently that, you know, he just told him what to do, you know, where to be, what to do. Yeah, but like a bit more than that. But like, you know, like it was, you know, get the, you know, when you hold the ball, give and go, and, you know, simple stuff that you would hear, like, you know, anywhere. But you know, if you're watching an old football documentary, the likes of Brian Clough and that, you would hear this stuff. But I had Tommy on the podcast yesterday, Tommy Johnson. Now, Tommy was in, like, we spoke about when Martin came in 2001, same time as Tom Allison. Martin came in before that, but when Tom Allison came in, Martin was there. But that treble winning season, like what I kind of forgot about because you got caught up in the whole, we dominated that season, silverware, and ran away with the league, I think. But Tommy reminded me who poor Celtic were the year before and how far Rangers were ahead. And the talk that time when O'Neill came in was, it'll take him a couple of years, Rangers will win the league this year. So it was such a quick fix, really. You know, when you think back to,
it's a very good Rangers side that season. I know. I mean, you think we won 6-2, and then the next game I think they won. Maybe it's 5-1. I mean,
they did, yeah.
They had some really good players, no?
So yeah, but just we'll finish off, Michael. On it's St Mirren this week. Tommy, I was saying to Tommy that we were pissed coming down the road when he scored that goal that won the league. That was the same time as we played on Saturday, the last game before the split, and the league was won. And he said it was so good going to Ibrox, champions.
Aye.
You know, it's a completely different kettle of fish this season. But if I take you back to that treble winning season, because, you know, Matt O'Neill was the first one to do it since Jock Stein.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, younger fans will think, you know, sure, it's been done loads of times. But up until that point, it hadn't been. So to win a treble in that season was incredible. Have you any highlights or memories of that season? Obviously, the 6-2 stands out for me.
Obviously the 6-2 game. I just think for me it was all about Chris Sutton. I think coming in, Lambert and Chris Sutton for me were the two. I mean, people going about Lennon, about O'Neill bringing his trusted lieutenant, but Lambert for me was just phenomenal, and Chris Sutton just epitomised everything about Martin O'Neill's Celtic. I mean, he got a rough deal off for refs, but he'd have defenders hanging off him, and he'd still be charging out the park. No, we had Mark Viduka there not that long before that, and I just felt that he was an absolute imposter. Do you know that? I mean, he was a talented football player, but I just never took to him at all. Obviously, the way he came into Celtic was obviously an issue because he went AWOL. But I was at the first game he played. It was at Capello. We played Morton in the cup, and I just never took to him. I just felt he was really false and stuff. I mean, but by all accounts, he's quite a decent guy. You know what I mean? I think he runs a coffee shop or something in Croatia or something now. But I just never ever took to him. I just thought he's an imposter. He's never going to be a Celtic idol. You know what I mean? And then when Sutton came in, I just thought
you were right there.
Aye, and when Sutton came in, I just thought, wow, I've not got many footballing heroes, no, but Chris Sutton's one of them. No, I'm not that keen on his punditry at times, but a footballer, no, it was just phenomenal. He was just such a strong character. I mean, and he called out the refs and all, which I loved as well. I mean,
he made such an impact as well. He scored. Was it first or the winner in away to Dundee?
Tannadice, aye.
In his debut,
him and Larson both scored.
And then then the 6-2. Then he scored the first, and that he scored after. He scored almost from the tip off.
Aye, but as you say, that was the first treble I'd seen. I know I'd seen doubles and stuff, but the centenary double and stuff. But that was the first actual treble where I'd been there. And, witnessed it for myself. You know what I mean? So,
It was interesting you say about Lennon. You know, Lambert was your man, the man for you.
aye,
You know, Lambert, a Champions League winner.
yeah, aye.
I think sometimes we forget about that. But if I remember, you spoke about the 5-1. After that game, what was the French fullback we had?
Stefan Mahe.
I don't think he ever played for Celtic again after that game.
I loved
And
Mahe and all, to be fair. No, I thought he wore his heart on his sleeve.
yeah,
Aye.
I don't think he. No, I could be wrong. And if there's any statos out there, I'm sure Kieran Kenny will correct me on that one.
Aye.
But the
Mahe
other
was
one,
hung out to dry for the when Rangers won the title at Celtic Park with the 3-0 win, the infamous Dallas coin, when Dallas
oh yeah,
heated the coin back into the crowd. Mahe and Vida Rusev were hung out to dry for that by the club. I thought it was disgraceful. When really the catalyst and all that was Dallas. You know what I mean? That decision for him with Mahe on Neil McCann, I think it was a disgrace, no, and I still say that to this day. I mean, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with
you're not going
referees
to
now. So, aye. So,
but
aye.
but after that 5-1 game, Michael,
Mm.
Matt O'Neill said that'll never happen to my Celtic team again. He signed Neil Lennon, and it never did happen.
Yeah, yeah.
We never took a pumping like that.
I'm not unappreciative of Lennon's attributes. He's breaking the game up and keeping it simple and stuff. But aye, for me, Lambert was the man, no. And I think that was, even if you go back to the 1 in a row season, Lambert made such a huge difference. That his first game was at Ibrox, by the way. I'm sure his first game was at Ibrox, and we came in and we won. No, sorry, we lost 1-0, and Richard Gough scored, and he ran away to the crowd, giving it the 10, as in that was them winning it. And when we got him back to Celtic Park and at a temporary stand, and Lambert smashed that 25, 30 yards screamer right into the top corner, and then Burley for the second one.
Burley scored the second, 2-0. Yeah, that was the New Year's game, wasn't it?
It was, aye.
Michael, great memories of 2 great seasons, stopping the 10 and the treble. Listen, Michael, we'll leave it there. Are you for Hampden on Sunday?
I am for Hampden on Sunday. I have my ticket in the app.
That's
so
I got me ticket. I got me ticket in the app, but then I got an email saying your ticket has been declined or something. Contact Hampden if you think this is wrong. I then went into the app and it says, no, you'll get the barcode, blah, blah, blah. You know, the way you go in. And so
bizarre.
I'll hold on to all the emails. I've had to get in because I have a gig Saturday night, and then I'm straight to the airport because I'm on an early flight, but it's going to be a long day. Hopefully I'll get into the hotel early and get an hour's kip before the game, or I might be, if it's hanging like last, so I might be asleep for the end of it.
I'm not lover of these digital tickets right enough, but I've noticed when you buy concert tickets now, quite a lot of them are digital, but you often get the option to opt for a paper ticket depending on where you buy it. Ticket Scotland and stuff still give you the paper option, and I still feel there's something more tangible about that, no? So
yeah, my Ireland season book now has gone digital, and even when you go back before, Celtic had the season card. Remember the season book with the vouchers in it?
Yeah.
I still have some of that. I've boxes and
I've got
boxes.
all of them, bar one. I don't know what I've done with one, but one's missing, but I've got them all.
Boxes and boxes of tickets upstairs in the attic from gigs and football games and boxing fights.
I've got concerts for the early 80s and stuff that I've got at the Apollo in Glasgow, which is long gone, no? Tiffany's in Glasgow. U2 at Tiffany's, £4. U2 at Edinburgh Playhouse, £3.50. So
funny you should say U2. Legend has it from my older brother David that he saw U2 in Joey Mars, which is actually the cross where I DJ. But it used to be a venue called Joey Mars. It was called after the world handball champion, who they have a local man who won a couple of world handball championships, and they have a big statue of him in the town beside Sox Bourne, who won the bronze medal in the 1956 Melbourne Olympics. So anyway, that's just a bit of useful trivia for you. But U2 played in there for 50 pence.
Right.
They played in
I'm going to pay 50 pence to see them now, to be honest.
Bono has certainly he certainly rubs people up the wrong way.
I can't say I'm a lover of Bono.
Yeah, it's strange. Even U2 fans, they loved it. They loved the music, but a lot of them just can't take the Bono.
I sort of liked the first couple of albums, and then I gave them away.
I think I have a couple of the early singles. I'm sure they're worth a few quid. I don't think I have any albums.
Aye.
But anyway, that's enough.
Anyway, we've been off on one again.
That's enough about. I'm telling you, it's a therapy session. Sometimes we forget we're recording and we just go off. Michael, hopefully we get the win on Sunday. Hopefully we're going back to Hampden at the end of May, and hopefully we will chat next week. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the game, and I'll chat to you next week on the Michael and Millish therapy session.
Thanks, mate. Have a great day.
Folks, thanks for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and give us a like, a share, or leave a comment, whatever you have to do. And as always, thanks for the continued support with everything we do across all the platforms. Hail, hail, keep the faith.